Have you ever heard of a country that was traded, sold, and gambled away by Europe's great powers for centuries? A nation so small you could drive across it in under 2 hours. Yet its history is as rich and complex as any empire. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of Luxembourg, the Gibraltar of the North. Our story begins not with a grand battle, but with a simple trade in the year 963. A count named Siegfried acquired a small, rocky promontory overlooking the Alzette River. This spot, known as Luxembourg, meaning Little Fortress, was strategically brilliant. Siegfried built a castle here, and a small town soon grew around its protective walls. This was the humble birth of Luxembourg. Little did Siegfried know, he had just laid the foundation for a dynasty that would one day produce Holy Roman Emperor. For the next few centuries, the House of Luxembourg grew in power and influence. They were clever diplomats and formidable warriors. By the 14th century, they had reached their zenith. For members of the family wore the crown of the Holy Roman Empire, including the famous Charles IV, who transformed Prague into a magnificent capital. John the Blind, another iconic figure, became King of Bohemia and died a heroic, if tragic death, at the Battle of Crécy, fighting alongside the French. His motto, Ich dienen, meaning I serve, is still used by the Prince of Wales today. In 1354, Luxembourg was elevated from a county to a duchy, a sign of its growing importance. But this golden age couldn't last forever. With no male heir, the duchy fell into a precarious position. This vulnerability marked the beginning of a long period of foreign domination. First came the Burgundians in the 15th century. They were ambitious and wanted to create a kingdom stretching from the North Sea to the Mediterranean. Luxembourg was a key piece in that puzzle. After the Burgundian dream crumbled, the duchy was inherited by the Habsburgs, Europe's most powerful dynasty. For the next 400 years, Luxembourg's fate would be tied to the whims of foreign rulers. First, the Spanish Habsburgs, and then the Austrian Habsburgs. Because of its strategic location, sandwiched between France and the German states, Luxembourg became one of the most coveted fortresses in Europe. Everyone wanted to control it. The city's fortifications were constantly expanded and improved by the best military engineers of the time, earning it the nickname the Gibraltar of the North. It was considered virtually impregnable. Life for the locals was tough, marked by constant sieges, occupations, and the burden of housing foreign garrisons. Yet, through it all, the people of Luxembourg managed to preserve their own unique language and culture. The French Revolution and the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte brought another dramatic shift. In 1795, after a grueling 7-month siege, the fortress finally fell to the French revolutionary forces. Luxembourg was annexed into France, becoming the Department of Forests. For 20 years, French laws and administration were imposed, leaving a lasting impact on the country. After Napoleon's defeat in 1815, the great powers of Europe met at the Congress of Vienna to redraw the map. What should they do with Luxembourg? They came up with a peculiar solution. Luxembourg was made a Grand Duchy, technically an independent state, but it was given to the King of the Netherlands as personal property. To make things even more complicated, the fortress itself was garrisoned by Prussian troops as a bulwark against future French aggression. So you had a Dutch king, a Prussian army, and a population that was starting to feel a real sense of national identity. It was a recipe for tension. This tension came to a head in 1830 during the Belgian Revolution. Most of Luxembourg, being French-speaking and Catholic, sided with the Belgians in their fight for independence from the Dutch. When the dust settled, the great powers intervened again. The 1839 Treaty of London was a bittersweet moment for Luxembourg. It confirmed its independence, but at a huge cost. The country was split in two. The larger French-speaking western part was given to the newly formed Kingdom of Belgium, becoming the province of Luxembourg. The smaller, German-speaking eastern part remained the Grand Duchy. Luxembourg lost more than half its territory overnight, This event is known in Luxembourg as the Third Partition, and it was a national trauma. The mid-19th century was a period of crisis. The loss of territory had crippled the economy. Poverty was widespread, and a third of the population emigrated, many to the United States, particularly two areas around Chicago and Minnesota. The country's very existence seemed uncertain, but then two things happened that changed everything. First, the development of a new steel-making process in the 1870s allowed Luxembourg to exploit its vast reserves of iron ore. The steel industry exploded, transforming the agricultural nation into an industrial powerhouse. This brought wealth, jobs, and a new sense of purpose. Second was the Luxembourg crisis of 1867. The King of the Netherlands, in desperate need of money, tried to sell the Grand Duchy to Napoleon III of France. Prussia, which still had troops in the fortress, vehemently objected. War seemed imminent. A major European conflict was only avoided by the Second Treaty of London. The solution: the Prussian garrison would leave, the mighty fortress would be dismantled, and Luxembourg would be declared a perpetually neutral and unarmed state. This decision, though it meant tearing down the walls that had defined the city for centuries, ultimately secured Luxembourg's independence. It could no longer be a military prize. This newfound neutrality was tested twice in the 20th century, despite its declared status. Germany invaded and occupied Luxembourg in both World War I and World War II. The Second World War was a particularly dark time. The Nazi regime annexed the country, forced young Luxembourgers to fight in the German army, and persecuted the Jewish population. But the spirit of resistance never died. Many Luxembourgers fought with the Allies, and the country paid a heavy price for its liberation, especially during the Battle of the Bulge, which ravaged the northern part of the country. The trauma of 2 invasions in 30 years convinced Luxembourg to abandon its neutrality. After the war, it became a founding member of the United Nations, NATO, and most importantly, the European Coal and Steel Community in 1951. This was the forerunner of today's European Union. Luxembourg City became one of the 3 institutional capitals of the EU, alongside Brussels and Strasbourg. This was a brilliant move. By anchoring itself at the heart of the European project, Luxembourg ensured its security and prosperity. It transformed itself from a pawn in the games of great powers to a key player and mediator on the European stage. In the late 20th century, as the steel industry declined, Luxembourg reinvented itself once again. It pivoted towards finance, creating favorable laws that attracted banks and investment funds from all over the world. Today, it is one of the world's leading financial centers and one of the wealthiest countries on the planet. From a little fortress traded between counts, to a duchy ruled by a fortress coveted by kings, a partitioned nation struggling to survive, and finally, a prosperous and independent state at the heart of Europe. The history of Luxembourg is a remarkable tale of resilience, adaptation, and the enduring power of a small nation to forge its own destiny against all odds. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through Luxembourg's incredible history. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into history, and let me know in the comments which country's story you'd like to explore next. Thanks for watching.